Grow groups at Port City. I'm so glad you decided to join your group today. We finished a series this Sunday on relationships, and we ended this series by looking at the heart of the matter. Because you can know all of the principles about relationships. You can have read all of the books, but if your heart isn't in the right place, then you will come up short. We talked last week about making sure the vertical relationship was correct so that the horizontal relationships could become what they are supposed to be. As we look at the heart of the matter, we started out in Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23, when it says, "Guard your heart, for from it springs life. From it comes the source of life." We started out by looking at Genesis and the fall. How God created a perfect world, and He created man, and He gave man some responsibilities. Man was to work and care for creation. He told man that he could enjoy anything in the garden except the tree in the middle, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. He told him, don't eat of that tree. As Adam began to implement God's plan and begin to do God's word, God looked at Adam and said, something's missing. And He creates Eve, the beautiful Eve, as Christina worded it Sunday, the crescendo of God's creation. And I would agree that it is the most beautiful part of God's creation. But along comes the enemy, Satan, the deceiver, the one who had been cast out of heaven, the one who at one time was the top of creation and now has been cast out because of his pride. And he sneaks in and he comes to Eve and he tells her, eat of the fruit because God's holding out on you. And if you eat of the fruit, then you will have more than you could have imagined. And that is always the lie of the enemy. Disobey and you will get more. Adam, being right next to her, did nothing to prevent this from happening. And she ate of the fruit and she gave to Adam. And from that moment forward, mankind has been broken. And mankind has been trying to recover its identity. Adam immediately tried to cover things up with some fig leaves, right? He immediately tried to cover up the mistakes because they looked at themselves and they go, oh my goodness, we're naked. We didn't even know that before. Everything was so perfect and we were fulfilled and we were acknowledged and validated by God Himself. Now we look at ourselves and we're insecure. We're naked. We've got to cover up. And from that moment, we have the questions that haunts men and women. The question for the ladies is, am I lovely? The question for the guys is, am I good enough? And both of them come down to a common question of, do I have an irreplaceable role in the great story or adventure of life? And we struggle with this all of our lives. And the point that we wanted to make Sunday, and I think it's the point of Scripture, or I know it's the point of Scripture, is that emptiness, that hole inside of us will never be filled outside of a relationship with God through His Son, Jesus. That's the only way. The only way to truly understand that you have what it takes is through Jesus. The only way to truly experience what it means to feel and to be lovely and to have that confidence and that assurance is through a relationship with Jesus. Now, two final things I want to end on. It's just kind of this video recap. One, God's number one mission for us, the church, those of us who have put our faith in Jesus, is to tell the story of how others can find forgiveness, redemption, peace, hope, joy by putting their faith in Jesus, how they can find salvation in Jesus. Once that happens, then our responsibility to one another is to be the voice of more, to come alongside and affirm and encourage and pray for and lift up. You see, as followers of Jesus, we're not supposed to be that voice of less, which is the voice of the enemy that says you're missing something. Something's out of whack. You're not good enough. You're not lovely enough. No, we as followers of Jesus are supposed to come alongside one another and speak the voice of truth. that in Jesus, you can be lovely. In Jesus, you can have that question answered and that hole fulfilled. So I want to invite you guys tonight, as you talk to one another, as you wrestle through the Grow Group Guide, and we're going to be talking about a couple of different passages tonight, or you're going to be talking about a couple of different passages. Lean into Jesus. Lean into Him as the author and the finisher of your faith. Lean into Him to give you that assurance, that confidence, and to fill you with His presence, and to answer for you the question, no, on your own, in your broken state, you're not lovely enough. On your own, in your broken state, you don't have everything it takes. But in Jesus, you are made lovely, and you are made worthy to get the job done, to have what it takes. Enjoy this Grow Group discussion. We hope to see you guys next week for the season finale as we talk about Beyond. More to come on that this Sunday. God bless you. All I have to do is take a look at you.